Is the growth that the city's seeing, whether it's like, cool things like the Sphere getting lit up the other day, everything that's being added to the town, does that help you when it comes to describing the town and making people feel comfortable?
It does, because again, you talk about there's so many things that are great here that are going on here in the city, and Sphere is obviously because everybody in the country sees it. But not only that, it's a sports mecca of the world, and so you got all these professional teams here. Basketball is probably going to be here in the next few years. Obviously, the Formula One racing, and then the baseball. I mean, we just have so much going on. It's a really neat market to sell to recruits, and that the city. Obviously, everybody knows about the city and how it explodes through the country, but there's so much more that we have here, and it's really neat to sell. I'm really excited about the potential that's going on here.
Camp opens up for the Rebels in early August. Season opener is September 2nd. Cornell Ford is on the horn with us. You can buy the tickets at UNLVtickets.com. Season tickets still available. If you buy and pay in full before August, you get a free Yeti Cup that is UNLV branded, so a good reason to go up to UNLVtickets.com. Before we talk about personnel, I want to talk about the offense and the running back role in this offense, because I went out to spring practice a bunch of times, and, man, I was watching, I'm like, I don't know who the hell has the ball. There's running backs all over the place. It's crazy. There's so much. It's like that whole – we talk about eye discipline going against option teams, and I think you got to have eye discipline going against his go-go. But what kind of running back is needed to make the go-go work?
An every down back. That's it. I mean, it's in its surest form. That's what I tell the recruits. That's what we're looking for. We got to have a guy that can do it all. Obviously, you got to be special with the ball in your hands, but you got to be able to block, because we're in a two-back system most of the time. And then you got to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. So you got to be able to do it all, and you got to be good at all three for us to be able to have this kind of success that we're looking for. So when you say you never know where the backs are, it really puts a lot of stress on defenses. Because of our alignments and our formations, and it's really kind of unique. Before I had gotten here, I'd never been a part of some of the things that we're doing with our backs. From that perspective, it's pretty neat, pretty cool to see, and obviously puts a lot of stress on the defenses.
You mentioned blocking. So what does that do for guys who are 5'8", 165, 5'8", 180, 5'9", 190, or am I being kind of a I don't even know how to describe it. I guess being anti-size, right? You got to be a big guy.
Being narrow-minded.
I'm being narrow-minded. Can little guys thrive in this offense, but also do the blocking?
Yeah, absolutely you can. I mean, we just talk about fundamentals and getting in front of people and just keeping them active. And really, if you're doing it right and if the play is working efficiently, you don't have to block people for a long time. You just got to get in front of them and keep them from basically kind of boxing people out. And I basically say, hey, if you're going to get your ass kicked, get it kicked slowly. It's kind of one of those kind of deals. But we expect all of our guys to be physical. I don't care from our biggest guy to our smallest guy. They all got to be able to go in and be effective blockers. And so, for the most part, we're getting that done.
So let's talk about some of the holdovers, because the room got changed up a lot. Aiden Robbins went off to BYU. Some other veterans decided to move on. Courtney Reese is back. What's the challenge for Courtney Reese, who is one of those guys who is 5'8" and 165? The challenge for him, though, this will be his third offense that he's running in. And I remember Marcus Arroyo talking about the changes, from him, from Sanchez. And so what's the challenge for Reese in terms of learning another running style, another offense?
Yeah, it's always tough when you're thrown into a new system. It's new terminology you have to learn, new formations, and obviously there's some things that he probably has to do that he hasn't had to do before, and that's one's blocking. And then we're putting a lot on his plate as well, as him being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. So that's tough anytime, but he's an experienced guy, so he's putting the time in. He's got to put the time in studying and getting in and watching video and learning the offense as much as possible. And I think some of the things that we're doing this summer with the guys gives him that ability, so that by the time we get to week one, he should know what's going on. He's had a great opportunity now. He's seen it in the spring, all through spring ball, and then we're working it right now, and we're basically starting the whole system all over again. So we just got done with the month of June, and we're going to crank it up and do all those reps all over again in July, so that by the time we get to August, he's pretty much got the offense down.
Tell the fans about some of the new guys in as transfers, veteran transfers. You got a bigger guy in Donovan Lester, and then you got another guy who's around that size of Courtney Reese and Vincent Davis, who played at Pitt and is out of Florida.
Yeah, well, Donovan's a big, physical, strong, fast guy, and he's been kind of in this system before. He's had some experience with Coach Marion. Both him and Vincent have, and so from that perspective, they've got a little edge on some of the guys. But Donnie's a big, physical, fast guy that can make a lot of plays. He catches the ball well out of the backfield. He's going to be really, really beneficial for us. Vincent is a little smaller, a little bit more of a scat back type guy. He, again, can catch the ball and has had some experience with this offense. Probably not as fast as Donnie, but every bit as elusive and should be really effective in this offense.
All right, how hard is it for the freshmen to come in? You have a couple of highly touted dudes coming in from Atlanta, from Kansas City. How hard is the offense going to be for them to learn? And then obviously you get on the field if you can block. If you can't block as a young guy, you ain't going to play.
Yeah, that's pretty true. But I guess what? With all these guys, I've told them all the same thing. Hey, if you can't block, you can't play. So I don't care if he's a senior or he's a freshman.
Yeah.
If you ain't blocking, you ain't playing. That's my motto. Now, the freshmen, it's always difficult for them because, they've only been here for a few weeks, and we're cramming a lot in their little, melons and trying to get them to learn this thing as quickly as possible. And basically it's just trying to find out, is there one that's mature enough? He might not be quite up to snuff right now, but by August, can you see some potential where he might be able to, if he catches up, can he go out and make some plays for us and be special with the ball in his hands? And obviously you got to be tough enough to, stick your face in and block the people. And so that's kind of what we're finding out. Obviously we're doing it right now without pads, but you're just trying to figure out, is there one that might be special enough that he might be able to get in the rotation.
UNLV football kicking off on September 2nd. Bryant is in town. Then Michigan the next week. Camp opens up in about 3 weeks here in August. You can grab your tickets at UNLVtickets.com and Cornell Ford. The running back coach is with us here. You've been coaching for a long time. You played the game. The game has changed in terms of roster building, in terms of who you're coaching. Are you comfy yet with the way the game is now, where you may, from year to year, have half of your room at your position may be different? I mean, the challenge now to teach and teach quickly is way up there.
Yeah, that's college football these days. I mean, that's just the way it is, and you're gonna have to deal with transfers, and you got to get them caught up. And so hopefully you can find the guy that, one, is mature enough, two, is smart enough, because he's got to be able to come in and pick up things fast. And then is he special and physical enough to be able to go out and play? So that's all a part of the game. That has never changed and will never change. Yeah. It's just a matter of finding a guy that's mature enough that can come into your room and adapt to what you've already kind of established. That's the biggest thing. And then can you trust the kid? And you got to be able to trust him fast, but hopefully in the recruiting process, you can kind of find the right kind of guy that has the right DNA that you can bring into the room, and he'll adapt fast. And hopefully, if you do your work well, you can find a guy, and we'll figure that out. Well, I think we've got two guys that can come in and do that, but we'll find out. You really don't know until the bullets start flying.
Yeah. So this is a big decision for all you guys who have joined Odom's staff, and I want to talk about Barry Odom here in a second. You coached at Missouri, so what are some of the Gary Pinkel principles? Tell people out in Vegas here what Gary Pinkel is like and what's to be learned from a stint with Gary Pinkel.
Wow. Well, Coach Pinkel was kind of the guy that gave me my start as a grad assistant, and then as a full-time coach, and then I was probably with him probably longer than most of the guys that were there with him. I coached 15 years with him in Missouri, and another 7 at Toledo. So we spent a lot of time together. Just attention to detail, tough, get after it, be a 6-second player. Those are the qualities that we're looking for, and that's why he's a Hall of Fame coach, because he was able to go into programs that probably didn't have a lot of success before he got there and turn them around He did that at Toledo. I remember when I first interviewed with him as a grad assistant, he told me the story of Don James and how Don James started at Kent State, took a program from Kent State, won Kent State's probably only championship in the MAC, and then took that same program to Washington, turned that program around, and they won a national championship there and won a lot of big, Pac-12, Pac-10 back in those days, championships. And then Gary Pinkel took that program and took it to Toledo, had success, won a championship, and then we went to Missouri and had played in a lot of championship games there as well. So it was a proven winner, and all you got to do is stick to the system and have a standard and make players live up to that standard. And if you can do that, you can be successful.
I'm going to draw a parallel in terms of recruiting, and you can tell me if I'm crazy, from Missouri to UNLV. I know a lot of people who went to Missouri and, media who follow Missouri football, and it always seems like Missouri's kind of, there's that wish that, hey, we got to get the guys to stay home. You got St. Louis, you got all these fertile grounds. You got to get them to stay home. And it sounded like Barry Odom came in here to UNLV, and they're like, we have to build with some local guys. And I know you can't comment on 2024 commits, but I think you already have 4 or 5. Like, how important is that to, you're going to canvass all these areas of the country, especially Texas, but how important is it to make the inroads with local commits?
It's extremely important. If you ever want to have any sustained success, you got to be able to win in your backyard. And you're not going to win all of them. Right. You're never going to do that. Even when we were at Missouri, we knew we weren't going to win every single kid. But if you get the majority of the guys and you get the majority of the right guys, you can turn your program around. And that's where it starts at first. And it starts by just going in and building a relationship with high school coaches. And they see you in the building. Kids see you in the building. You just want to show them that you want them, and you want them to be a part of the program, even if they don't have a player. They might not have a player this year. They might not have a player next year, but 2-3 years down the road, they got somebody, and because you built a relationship with them, and they trust you, and they see a product that's on the field, then they say, I think this is a place I can send my kids. And then all parents want to be a part of that. And what's easier, going down the road 20, 30 minutes, to go see the kid play, or going down the road, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, or longer, having to fly somewhere to go see your kid play. I think anytime you can build those kind of relationships, you're going to have some success in your program.
Coach, we appreciate it. We know this is a slower time, and I know you're working this week, so thank you for stepping up. And when you do get some time off, enjoy it, and we'll see you in about 3 weeks.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. Let's get after it.
There you go.
Rebels.
Cornell Ford, running back coach for UNLV. I find the local recruiting thing completely fascinating because I started to chart what they've done. So they've got 15 or 16 commits already for 2024, which is insane by UNLV football standards. It's the beginning of July. It's next year's class. So those numbers are boffo. I was looking back at Arroyo, and I just think that he and the staff, I'm going to say him, kind of made a decision that, hey, it's going to take a while to win over the locals. And a lot of people complained about the effort they made. And they built it with transfer portal guys, and then a lot of Texas, a lot of California, kind of the areas that he had recruited in. Well, you look back now, don't worry about 2020 because it was such a screwy year. I think 2021 they got 1 local. 2022 they got 2. That was Jaden Mayava and I think Noah McKinney. I'm going back a year, but they got, I think by years it was 1, 2, and 1. I mean, you got to get some players locally because then as Coach Ford just said, there's a pipeline that gets built.
Right.
So and sometimes, guess what? I'm not saying waste spots on your roster, but rather than get I don't like the star system. I think it's stupid. But rather than get a 2-star from wherever it is, Texas or somewhere else in California, build some equity locally. And it didn't seem like they wanted to do that. And these guys have hit the ground running. And he can't comment on it, but they just got Greg Burrell, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, from Desert Pines. Good size back at like 6'1", 205. CSU was on him. BYU was on him. Reno was on him. So that was a good commit. That's for 2024. They got a kid, Devin Green, from Sacramento. He had 3 Pac-12 offers, some other good Mountain West programs. So it's a tricky game, John. You know that. When you're coming into a market and a lot of people are like, UNLV football sucks. I don't like how the previous coach did this. I wonder, you're going in and you're trying to develop a relationship, but then you got to listen to the problems of the past.
Well, and that's why it was interesting hearing him because you referenced it too. You just want to show that you have a presence there. But to what you're referring to is, too, you don't want to just go recruit for recruiting's sake to just sit there and try to appease some people, because you want to build your roster the right way. You don't want to just grab kids just to do it. The balance that they have to strike is pretty fascinating, given the situations and sins of the past that you're mentioning from other regimes.